Dissolution of Rampolsini. Now, not even nothing remains. There is no remains anymore. When even truth dissolves into nothingness. Now, truth was only a memory. Now there was no I, no you. Now there was no truth, no falsehood. Now there was no experience, no experiencer. Now only nothing. But nothing itself is still something. And being nothing is still a form of being. Not even that. The final absorption of self beyond the idea of nothingness. Q code representation. RA. Now, truth dissolved into emptiness. Then emptiness dissolved into itself. Now even the being empty was gone. Now nothing exists, and nothing itself does not exist. Sanskrit shloka. Nan shunyan chapurnatvam, nan satyan nachamityata, asingam parmantatvam, yetter sarvalayangatam. Neither emptiness nor completeness, neither truth nor falsehood, where everything dissolves, that is the ultimate state. When silence itself is no more. Silence was the only thing left, but silence is still a sound, and to be silent is still an action. Now, silence was no longer something to be heard. Silence was no longer something to be known. Silence was no longer something to be felt. Was no longer something at all. Now, that was gone. Q code representation. Silence R. Silence itself has dissolved. Now there is no silence, no sound, no void. Sanskrit shloka. Mana nasti tvanich nasti anuvopi nasti. Yetter mana lanyatan. Tattar satyam parman pram. No silence, no sound, no experience. Where silence itself vanishes, there is the supreme reality. Even the concept of truth disappears. It's the last thing left, but truth itself is a limitation. Now that too was erased. Now truth had no meaning. Code representation. Truth or horafor, truth with R, meaning R panomat dash se. Now truth had no purpose. Now truth was not even a word anymore. Nasti, tattva nasti, kalpana opi nastihi, yetra satyan lanyata, tatra satyan vidyate. No truth, no essence, not even an idea. Where truth dissolves, there is no truth at all. Rampolsani himself dissolves into non-existence. Rampolsani was no longer himself. Now, Rampolsani was no longer anyone. Now, Rampolsani was no longer anything. Now, even he had disappeared. Now, his name was no longer a name. Now, there was no proof, no theories. Now, there was no one to see, no one to know. There was no existence and no non-existence. Now, only the unutterable. Q code representation. Final state beyond existence and non-existence. Self-R. Now, even the self was erased. Now there was no observer, no knower. Now only the indescribable remained. Sanskrit shloka. Ahanasti, dvagnasti nikichan. Yetter sarvalayan yatan, tattar kevala madhyam. No I, no you, no world. Where everything disappears, there is only the indivisible. Step. When even nothing is no longer there. There was no end. Now there was no beginning. Now there was no completion. Now there was no liberation. Now there was no something. Now there was no nothing. Now only